Congratulations with the merchant that's already on Prime Video.
Thank you.
So, how joyful was it to make this documentary?
Really joyful. I always joke, there aren't a lot of happy documentaries. So you're usually telling a story that's honestly quite dark in most documentary formats. And so to get to tell a story about Christmas and magic and joy and the people who make New York City's Christmas run was just incredible.
I love how in this one we actually get to meet a Santa.
We do. Greg Walsh is a real life Santa Claus.
For me, the highlights and the stories and the versions of Santa Claus is always intriguing. And for this one, it's Big Greg, which also his story, his life story, was very touching.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Greg experienced great loss himself, losing his own dad at 20 years old. Really all of these tree sellers, Greg as well, are hustlers, they're entrepreneurs, they're, figuring it out as they go, which is the only way the tree business works. You figure it out as you go. Yeah, they all have really moving trajectories and life stories. Sadly, Greg passed earlier this year, but he was able to pass on that legacy to his son, who is carrying it on with flying colors.
That was actually going to be my next question. We do learn about his prostate cancer going to his lungs in the documentary and how he's doing now, but that is very sad news.
Yes. So we filmed the documentary in 2023. And I will say, Greg got incredible news at the end of 2023 and actually got a lot more time than his doctors thought he would. He lived for another year and a half. He passed away earlier this year, actually on his birthday, which is very Greg to make sure we were celebrating him all the way till the end. But so he did, in a sense, get his miracle. He got more time with his son, but his cancer came back and spread. And yes, we lost him this year.
I'm definitely, it's definitely touching. My dad just had surgery for prostate cancer too. So when I was seeing that, I was just like, wow.
It's amazing to hear those stories. You say that I got a message from someone yesterday as well that he's suffering with prostate cancer, and it was really amazing to see Greg go through that and understand that there's more to life than all of the little things that we worry about. So it as a documentary filmmaker, you know, you want to make a film so that it gets seen and so that audiences feel something and react and maybe take, a piece of their own life in perspective. And so thank you for sharing that. It's really lovely to hear those stories.
Yeah, I'll be honest, my eyes got watery when you covered that because it's like, wow, like, even to Santa. But he says, just you just gotta wish, be optimistic, reminder that, we have to live life too. No, it
I
was
was just going to say, Greg always liked to remind us that anyone can be Santa any day they choose. I think part of that as well is a lot of our sellers, Greg included, are sober. Greg likes to say AA teaches us that you live one day at a time, and today's a pretty good day. He says it in the film. Tomorrow might not be so good, but today I'm selling flowers, and it's a good day. And so I love that perspective on life.
Can you talk about how you found all these different personalities?
Yeah, so I read an article in Epic magazine called Secrets of the Tree Trade back in December of 2022 that was written by one of Greg's workers. So he sort of had the inside track to how this all worked and all their personalities. And through him, I met Big Greg. And Greg introduced me to all of these other families and just kind of vouched for me and said, you should trust her. She likes Christmas like us. And got me kind of, yeah, an inside track to each of them. And we really just started, most of the film is verite. We started just following them around and seeing what happened.
A team player.
Yes, exactly.
But there's someone that re did not want to really be a team player here.
Yes. So Kevin Hammer, who is our fifth family member here, we have four families who are on screen. Kevin declined to participate in the film, so we only hear his voice through a series of phone calls in New York that I did with him. But I always like to say, someone brought it up earlier. They said Kevin is the Grinch. And I said, yes, actually, Kevin is the Grinch, but don't forget the Grinch, it's not all bad. The Grinch actually loves Christmas more than anyone. He's just misunderstood. And he, has a series of histories with Christmas that make him become that way. Anyone can become the Grinch. And so I love that the final thing we hear from Kevin in the film is I don't like New York City. I love New York City. And he has, I hope, this redemptive Grinch arc that actually Kevin loves Christmas and New York City, just as much as everybody.
Yes, and I think it's for a lot of the people that have had that tradition of going with family, with their kids, the usual stand they go to and buying their tree. I didn't realize how they are also hurting because there's kind of like I feel like the Home Depot with them is like the Amazon, right? For some of these stores. And
Yeah, so big box stores are really hard for these people because people don't realize when you buy a 29.99 tree at Trader Joe's, right, in New York City, they're what's called loss leaders. Those big box stores are not actually making money off of the trees. They are just selling them to get people into their stores to buy other things. And so, yes, it's a 29.99 tree, but support a mom and pop. Support, if you want people in your community to shop locally, you should, New York City doesn't feel like a town where you'd shop locally, but it is in a sense. And also, the tree sellers will say it too. It's not even really about the money and making sure, money goes to mom and pops. It's about the experience. Buying a tree is not a normal transaction. You buy a tree because you want that magic in your house. You want to give your kids a special moment. And, Home Depot is not going to count the rings on the tree stump and explain to the kids how many years old it is, or, give them a sprig of mistletoe to take home, or, tell them a special story. And so if you want that magical moment, you've got to go to one of these people.
so they mentioned how the biggest selling weekend is the first weekend of December, right? But is that the right, do you know, did you learn from this documentary making it with these talented people with knowledge, is when is the right time to buy the tree so it'll last until Christmas?
I don't know. I don't know that there's a right time to buy a tree. So there are people, they will tell you don't buy a tree before Thanksgiving. That's a bad idea, right? Like there are people who I heard this year, little Greg told me people were calling him on November 5th saying, can you get me a tree? And he was like, no, and you don't want one right now. It'll be dead. But I bought my tree a couple days before Thanksgiving, actually. I was so excited. And so, then there are people whose tradition it is to buy it on Christmas Eve. That's tradition. So, I think the other good thing is that if you buy a tree from a big box store, it is not going to last very long because, again, they're not taken care of. I've bought a tree from these salesmen every year now, right? My trees always seem to last all the way through, and I buy them early. So no right time per se. But also they've said like if you get it home and you have an issue, we'll replace it free of charge. Like they're very open about that. So another good reason to shop locally.
And also the story behind it, how it all begins. You give us a little history about the beginning, and then I was like, wow, this is a full-time year's gig.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christmas, I always say, is a 365-day a year sport. They are, the end of our film is George saying the day after Christmas, it begins again. And it's true. So they are always year round working on Christmas trees. They also do other things you see in the film, sell flowers, sell pumpkins for different holidays. But yeah, the history is big here. You don't just get into the tree trade. You kind of have to be born into it. So I think, probably the youngest tree salesmen have been doing this for 20 years, right? The oldest have been doing it for over 50 now, almost 55, I think, is George Nash and Kevin Hammer. And so yeah, it's a trade and a business with a lot of history and a lot of legacy and a lot of traditions.
Well, thank you for your time and a reminder to appreciate not only Christmas with our family, but also our tree is coming from.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. It was really nice to chat about it.
Likewise, thank you. And I love the earrings. So perfect.
Oh, thank you. I have little Christmas nails too.
I love it. Maybe you need one of the Grinch in there.
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you so much again and congratulations.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.